Awesome. All right. My name is Tom Graham, and welcome to Being Heard. I'm here with Sid McNairy. And about being heard, I am committed to every voice being heard, including my own. So welcome, Sid.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you could come and take time and share a little bit about yourself and answer some questions about the 7P's. So as we get started here, Sid, would you share a little bit about yourself and what, just to give us context?
Sure. Well, I'm going to tell a little story that kind of takes me through, and the story is actually about me meeting my wife, Liz, because we do a lot of things together, and one of the most important relationships in my life right now. So I love telling this story of how we met. And it started with me coaching college football.
Mm-hmm.
And when I finished, was getting towards the end of coaching football, I really started to feel that feeling of peace coming into my body, because I had started doing yoga in '96, and the more I did yoga, the more I would feel it in my body, and then I'd wanted it more in my life. And so at the end of my coaching career, yoga really became such an intricate part. I mean, the school, Morgan State University, paid for me to go and study yoga, and so I did that, and then I taught yoga to our whole football team and began to teach it on campus, and then started to teach people in the community, and that pulled me away from coaching football. That it was really such a big place for me to connect other people, but I still love, even today, love coaching. And so I went to this high school,
Mm-hmm.
Towson Catholic High School, to interview as the soccer coach, and in the midst of they offered me the job, so they wanted me to see all the facilities, and went in this gym, and there was this, here comes a basketball bouncing by, and this younger white lady comes and gets the ball, and I remember her because she was the only white person on the basketball team. So and that was Liz, and that was the first time we crossed paths. And so 7 years later, I mean, I wasn't really into dating high school people then. 7 years later, she came in my yoga studio, and I don't even remember meeting her at that point. There were so many people checking in, and she remembers that was kind of her moment of remembering me. And so from there, we spent the next seven years just weaving a relationship. We became friends. She got to witness me going through my vision quest and things like that. And we went to Nicaragua together because I had a retreat, and that was really the first time I got to know her, because we were stuck in this lagoon. Not stuck, but we were in there by ourselves. Everybody had gotten out. And so I went and got hypnotized for 6 hours. And in that moment, I had a chance to journal questions for 30 days to my highest self, and was asking questions. The lady was reading the questions, and finally she said, "So who is that person in Sid's life now?" And it was Liz. And so afterwards, we went on that journey of discovering if we wanted to be in that dance, and there were so many different things that came forward. And probably the biggest, though, is she taught me how to open up to loving more, because she had gone through, and she tells this story herself, so I'm comfortable telling it, but she had lumps in her breast. And I had obviously, well, not obviously to the listeners, but to you, I had started helping people heal and transform different things in their body. And so I remember praying to God and saying, okay, I'm helping all these other people. This person I'm marrying, I want to help. And so fortunately, she no longer has lumps in her breast, and she taught me how to love enough to help people heal. So that's kind of the journey, and an introduction through all the many different things I've been through, and I'm sure we'll uncover more of them in this moment. So thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I appreciate your share. and who Liz is, and it's clear she brings out something amazing in you, and you in her. And so that's great. I mean, I've had the opportunity to see you both. So the first one is passion. And so now these questions are a little bit sideways, you might say, because they are, because well, I'll just go with that and you'll determine later. So passion, how do you take actions to increase your passion?
Well, my passion truly is peace. And it came about, well, really, as long as I can remember, I've wanted peace. Like, no matter what it was, as a child, when I got to going through sicknesses and all those things, that I always wanted to get back to peace, no matter how dreary it looked in those moments. And so, and my expression is through the art of peaceful living, really helping other people. I learned at some point that I could have peace, yet if somebody around me who was in my life didn't, they actually could potentially disrupt my peace. And so that's when it became more than just about me, is when I
Yeah.
realized if I had peace and my family didn't have peace, or my community, then did I really have peace? And it echoes all the way into uh, looking to be a world peacekeeper, in that sense of helping people, no matter who they are, find it. And I'd have to say that, having had the opportunity to work with a defense contractor with 85,000 employees,
Mhm.
that level of peace, bringing that into the world, has been such a gift. So my passion is definitely peace, and how to bring that forward so the world has it before I leave.
Yeah. So like, okay, I'm going to reframe it just a little bit. So how do you take action to create more peace? Because it's like, okay, so Sid, you're taking on 85,000, a company of 85,000. Like, is there anything else that you do? I mean, do you like buy somebody donuts, or, how else do you?
Well, I I'm generally happy with everybody that crosses my path. I mean, even the person that may come into my air with anxiety or fury, or, yeah, I'm just good. I'm good where I am. So I know that being peace creates peace. So that's
Okay.
that's kind of the first thing that I create it, no matter where I am,
Okay.
and then when I'm surfing, that adds to my peace. When I meditate, it adds to my peace. And from that, whether it's being an example or actually sitting with people and talking about it, the more peace I can give to others, the more it brings into me.
Awesome. The next one is perseverance. What is worth so much that you would persevere through anything to accomplish or to have?
It may sound redundant, yet it is truly peace. Like, I was going from my body shutting down, being told I would feel all of the pains of the world, which 2016, when I completely shut down and couldn't move, I felt like I was enduring the worst of the worst. Needing to walk away from my yoga studio, walk away from coaching football, walk away from all these different things to reinvent myself so that I could get further along this journey. I would say it's peace. That's my mission. I mean, I even said to my wife uh, that I love you and I will be with you. And I have a mission first. Like, that's it. Like, I have a mission. It just so happens that I have a mission, and I have a wife who's on that mission with me, because I did lose a relationship because I was so committed to this, that the relationship didn't flourish because we weren't on it together, in that sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. And these might seem like goofy questions, and I'm going to go through them as scripted, and then I'll deepen it if I can see how to. Perspective. So would shifting your perspective change your level of joy in the moment?
Yes, it has many times. It's not so much now because I just see from that place of ease for myself. Yet I'd have to say that it kind of goes back to one of my teachings about reflections and that last stage of vision quest of the South, walking the red road,
Hmm.
and seeing my reflection in someone else. Uh, and knowing that if I'm seeing someone as anger, there's something for me to shift inside. Otherwise, I'd be able to have compassion, you know? And so, in that sense, I've had to learn how to use my reflection that's showing up in other people to shift my perspective so I could get back to that level of peace.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I appreciate your answers, and it's kind of like it's just perfect. So thank you. Next one's priorities.
Mm.
Are your priorities setting you up for success in creating more joy?
Yeah, for sure. And that's not always been the case. Like, yeah, I don't want to come across as somebody who's just sitting on top of this mountain and is in like la la land. But yes, I am sitting now on top of this. I'm actually on top of our condominium complex, outside of the lake. Get to surf every day, but I created this life. Like it was something I knew I wanted to go and find. So there were times that my priorities were different. Coaching football, peace wasn't a big thing when I was trying to make sure we were winning. Like turning 4 football teams from losers to winners. The priority wasn't peace; it was literally to win. And so there's some people that because I was so driven in that way, there's some people that it didn't I didn't think twice about how my relationship was with them because my priority was to win, and that's what I was getting paid for, or we got fired quick, right? So it was simple for me, and then things changed and shifted. I had to look at myself, and I had to see the person that I became to be that person to win. I looked in the mirror of my wife at the time, realized that the person she had to become to be with me wasn't the person I wanted to stay with, you know? And so all those things began to continue to move me forward. And I had to shift my priorities to get there.
Yeah. So that process, how long was that wakening up to realizing she wasn't the one? Was it
Uh,
like overnight or was it like over a 6-year span?
I actually, and this is off the record, and now I'm on the record.
Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. So if we're going into a spot you don't want to go, just you
No,
can
no, no,
say,
I'm good. I'm good. I and I and as I share this, I share it not for myself. Um, I share this for anyone that this could possibly help in their journey. And I share it knowing that the the mother of my children is a great person,
yep,
right? So I'm not so I wanted that's why I wanted to preface that before I said anything, was
sure.
to make sure that she if she heard this, she'd be okay, you
Oh,
know.
yeah.
So what I'd say is that ask the question one more time because I needed to get that out of the way first.
Yeah. Oh, no, this is my own personal question.
Gotcha. Go
It's
for it though.
like, how long did it take to create that decision? So the what I know of you, usually it's like that. It's like,
Well, I didn't
you,
listen at first.
okay.
See, we had a moment that was unfortunate where she was challenged to stand for me as a Black man.
Okay.
And because she laid such a commitment down to say, I'm with him, and anyone that doesn't accept him isn't in isn't connected to me. So then in that moment, I knew that going into the space, at some point I was going to have to recommit
Got
to
it.
a different place. And when I looked up, really 10 years later, the new beginning meant I had to go walk alone, you know.
Understood.
So it wasn't necessarily, and yeah, it could be 10 years. I think it's 7 years, because really 3 years before that, at 7 years, it started hitting me like, all right, I'm not at peace and I got to figure out how to get there. And
Yeah.
I was with her at the time. And
Yep.
so shifting that, and it has nothing to do with her, right? It really was me looking at myself and saying, all right, I'm not working in my life right now,
Right.
and I've got to figure it out. And I know that in many ways that she felt hurt from that, because she took it on as hers, but it was just me. And I couldn't find it there. Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't, there were many factors. It was coaching football. It was the way we were parenting together. It wasn't
Mhm.
working for me. And so I had to just face up, own up, and take the lumps as they came, and move towards where I am now. And there were many relationships in between to figure out how could I be the best me.
Yeah.
So I'd say 7 years to really see it.
Yeah.
Everything seems to happen in 7 years for me, on a cellular level. As soon as, like, if someone's watching this and they say, man, I want that level of peace, well, for the next 7 years, your body and all your cells are going to start realigning until you get there. And so that, I would say, 7 years. And 10 years, at that 10-year mark, it was like, oh, this is a new beginning and I'm free. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you for allowing me that, indulging me that question, because it was just, I was curious for my own personal, because it's
Yeah.
not, it wasn't fast. And I know you're committed to your word, and it's like, yeah, it's not a trivial, and the clarity to be able to choose that discernment. But I didn't want to get too much into that. It's more about the questions and your answers than me. Purpose. Is your ladder up against the right wall?
Oh, definitely.
I
Definitely.
know. It's a
Yeah.
tater. Good. I wrote
I,
them down.
yeah, no, I love it. And it's good to reflect, and it's good to be able to answer honestly. And I'm watching myself always. Like, that's my thing. I'll make sure that I'm seeing from my highest perspective what my earth self that's playing here is doing. And if I look up, I'm thinking. If I look down, I'm in my heart. And that answer came right up. Like, yeah, purpose, 100%. I'm living exactly what I'm meant to do. I'm stepping into it more and more every day. Being able to be gifted the ability to help people heal from
Hmm.
many different ways, that's a gift. And for a while, I didn't use it because I was worried about what other people thought of me, saying I could do that, that I could be the conduit from God to let things happen like that. So yes, I am 100% in it. I can feel it when I speak. I can see it in my creations of what I speak, how fast they're coming forward, how things are shifting. Being here with you, and I've watched you elevate. And I don't know, we've probably known each other about a year now, and I've watched you elevate into, you didn't like to use your voice. Now we're on your podcast. Like, watching these things become just amazing. And so, yeah, I look forward to the rest of my life, and I don't have to look back to remember it as good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, follow on question. And what are you building with that?
Good one. So we're building our home, and there's going to be a lot of it. I actually said this on a thing called Top Talent. which you should be on, especially now that you have this podcast. And I was on Top Talent, and I said, we're building our home. And our home looks like a property on the ocean, on the beach. Yet it's not just our home. It's our in a bigger sense. It's our retreat center. It's this place where people come to recover themselves and find their way back home inside of themselves. And so that's what we're building on that. Like really taking the time. We've been working with different spiritual people that talk about the angelic beings being on the land, getting it ready for us to come to it. And yeah, I'm just excited about it. I mean, I just burnt the layer off because some reason just got hot.
I've been getting the truth bumps right here.
Yeah, so that's it right there. We are building our home and look forward to people coming, and then we'll build a home. They asked us to open up a community healing circle at 1 o'clock on Thursdays, just so the people across the pond could have access. And at some point, we'll probably open up one that people in Australia can have access, and Malaysia and all those different places, because their times are different, you know?
Yeah.
And so I feel that, and I feel us being in a place that we bounce back and forth through these different places and help children. And at that home, one thing I want to do is the children that never get to surf, I want that space to be open for them, you know, to come to the academy so that they can learn to surf. And in that process of learning to surf, they learn life, which is that's what all the sports were for me. They taught me how to live well with other people. Yeah. I like that. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, thank you. And that brings us to patience. And are there areas where you don't have patience?
Yeah, and I'm working on that. I'd say one place that my patience gets worn thin and quickly. And my grandmom says, grandson, you know you don't have patience. So yes, I'm constantly looking at it, because if I said, grandma, like I said, grandma, I think I want to change the name of the business. No, don't. You need to be patient. I was like, I've been thinking about this for years. I just didn't share it. But so there's things when I look to create, sometimes I move so fast that I want it like tomorrow, right? Or not even tomorrow, today. And so that's where it is for me. Like I've really, surfing has helped me have that, because I go and I create, and then I go get on the water and I let it go, you know, and I'm on the water, and it doesn't matter if I'm not a professional surfer. So don't get that twisted in anybody's head listening, in case you see me fall off my surfboard. What it does for me is it just clears my mind, and I get in, you know, like Bruce Lee said, be like water. Well, when you're on the water, you better be like water, or the water will take you. And so I love that. I love that surfing has given me that level of connection that applies my yoga, my meditation, my concentration, my discipline. It just continues to bring so many things out in me. And that's partially because in many ways, not that I've mastered meditation, because you don't really master meditation, but after 40 plus years of meditating, I feel comfortable in meditation. And so being stretched in meditation doesn't happen as often as it did early on. And so, but now I'm not always comfortable out on the ocean. Today I wasn't comfortable. Waves were over my head. For some reason, it felt like I couldn't see. It was a challenge. Yet there were a lot of surfers out, because bad weather comes out, surfers come out. And so here we are out there, and it was just like, all right, I need to let the water win today. And then when I left, next thing you know, I'm talking to this guy from South Carolina, because he drove in for our storm, and he and his daughter were camping out in their RV, and his wife was in Costa Rica. And so I learned so much about this guy in such a little time, just because I had the patience to just be okay where I was. And so, yes, patience is one of those last few humps, I think, to get us to a place of being okay, being at peace, finding joy. Is
Yeah.
just being okay when it comes.
So the follow-on question for the patients is, if you sit back and take that high level, do you see any patterns?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's the
I
patterns
mean,
are
you
like,
kind of articulated them, and I didn't know if there was a deeper pattern yet.
well, the deeper pattern I think is my mom says I never walked and I ran. And then I slowed down and started walking. And so that's kind of the story of my life. Like I've just jumped and said, all right, I'm going. And then I figure it out. Like I was like, all right, Liz, I lost my muscles and everything here in Maryland. I don't know where to live. Let's go. And then she was like, you want to leave tomorrow? And I was like, oh no. We can slow it down. Like, so we left 3 years later. When
Okay.
we moved here in Jacksonville, it was funny. I was like, uh, I think we were like 3 months in, and I was like, hun, let's move to Bali. And she's like, are you kidding me? I just started this job. And I was like, no. And she was all upset because she was thinking that meant we were packing a house and we just bought all this new furniture. And I was like, no, I just think that's gonna be somewhere we'll live in time. I'm slowing down a bit. So yeah, so definitely that is a big one, a big one for sure.
Nice. And the next one's prayer. And this one, I'm going to try to describe it as I've described it to everyone. This one's a little bit slanted. Do you use prayer for what you're proud of, for what you're grateful for what you desire, and what you love about yourself?
Well, I do that practice every day. Um, I actually have a journal that has proud, grateful, desire, and what I love about myself written down. And then our friend, a mutual friend in Lindsaya, she has a space where I can go in and voice those things whenever I want. So that happens, and so yes, I do use it. Now, when it comes to saying as prayer,
Yeah.
prayer for me is how I communicate to the source. Meditating is how I communicate to the source. It's a
Yep.
two-way street, right? Like listen twice as much as you speak.
Okay.
So when I write these things down, it's usually about 5 minutes. When I sit in meditation, it's anywhere from 30 to an hour.
Mhm.
So I definitely listen a lot more, and that's how I use it as prayers. I am constantly in communication with the divine source to bring forward my life. On Wednesdays, I've just recently committed to getting to 4 hours of meditation every Wednesday. So yes, I do use prayer to speak, but more importantly, I desire to listen so that I can hear and be directed to my highest calling.
Awesome. Well, Sid, thank you so much for these answers. I really appreciate you being here and sharing yourself, and you really got a new look. So thank you.
Yeah. Gosh, was that 7 of them?
It was.
Wow.
Now, what would you
Wow.
like to be acknowledged for?
Well, really, I'd have to say that I love feedback.
Okay.
And when I say feedback, like we use feedback in teacher training of what's real, not people's opinion, right?
Mm,
Like it's easy for me to say, oh, I think this is how you should do it. That doesn't interest me much
mm,
because anything can be done anyway, and it works for some people and it doesn't for others. I love feedback in I saw what someone actually sees and how
mhm.
they felt when they saw it, what someone has heard and how they felt when they heard it, and just an overall feeling that someone gets in my presence is the most important thing to me. Maya Angelou with that saying of people won't always know what you did for them, but they will know how you made them feel. And my desire is that I leave everyone from the moment that I heard this, I leave everyone to have been happy to have met me, and it's getting closer and closer. Not everybody's happy because sometimes, I poke the bear like right in the belly, and so it comes out roaring. So I know that people can go to the artofpeacefulliving.com and find different ways to connect and see what works for them. And we're all in this together. And if we're going to find peace on earth, then it's up to each and every one of us to find peace where we are. Yeah.
Are you okay if I acknowledge you?
Yeah. I would appreciate it. I'll accept it and receive it.
All
And I'm going
right.
to say this before you say that. A
Okay.
friend of mine said, I was working with her cancer, and she kept saying, I can receive that. We were going through a bunch of mental exercises. And I was finally like, Tiffany, why do you keep saying I can receive that? And she was like, because I'm letting it in my soul. And so I can receive that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So Sid, I acknowledge you for your commitment to peace, for your taking it on through all the toils and all the trials that you've seen, all the people that have come and go in your life, and your commitment to always seeking peace, and your commitment to sharing it with the world. You've written books, you've created clubhouse rooms, you've created videos, you're creating a movie. It's like your commitment is clear, and I acknowledge you for taking on the big goals, big companies. How do we change a conversation? Like really change a conversation, like no kidding. It's like it's going to change. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I can receive that.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm going to stop it here and then we'll go into bonus.
Okay.